it that hard. Good evening. Welcome to the March 25th, 2025 meeting of the Oshkosh Common Council. City Clerk, if you could please take the roll.
Larson?
Here.
Esslinger?
Here.
Flom?
Here.
Bulow?
Here.
Stevenson?
Here.
Nichols?
Here.
Mughawar?
Present.
We have 7 present.
Leading us in the invocation as well as helping us with the pledge tonight will be Councilmember Larson.
Thank you. We ask for guidance tonight as we begin this meeting. May all those who participate in our discussions and our decisions reflect the values that we cherish in this great city. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you have a
Thank you.
certificate for him?
Thank you, Councilmember Larson. Your certificate's in the mail.
Can we take a picture?
We can. Afterwards. Next, we have an introduction of staff. Ms. Nyforth, I think the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce our new planning manager. Kimberly Gierach has come to be our planning manager in our planning services division. Kimberly comes from Shawano County, and before that, the town of Lawrence. So she has Ledgeview. Ledgeview. Before that, Kimberly's worked in Minnesota and the state of Washington also. So she has a very diverse background, working in a lot of different areas of planning. So we're very excited to have her here with us as our new planning manager. Do you want to say a few things?
Don't have anything formally prepared, but just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and I'm excited to be here.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Congratulations. Next up, we have actually 2 proclamations. We'll read them here tonight. We have, first up is Music in Our Schools Month. That's March 2025. We've got Mr. Lindley here who's going to accept that and then say a few words. And we also have one in regards to National Library Week as well. Proclamation. Whereas for 40 years, March has been officially designated by the National Association for Music Education as Music in Our Schools Month, encouraging communities across the nation to focus on music education. And whereas the purpose of this celebration is to raise awareness of the lasting positive impact of music education on the academic, personal, and professional growth of our students. And whereas music education shapes the way our students understand themselves and the world around them, allowing for a deep engagement with learning. And whereas Music in Our Schools Month reminds us that all children should have access to music in schools. And whereas music educators, students, and communities throughout Wisconsin demonstrate the importance of quality music education programs in the lives of young people. And whereas the City of Oshkosh joins our music students, educators, and the broader community in celebrating the power of music education. Now, therefore, I, Matt Mughawar, Mayor of the City of Oshkosh, do hereby proclaim March 2025 as Music in Our Schools Month in the City of Oshkosh, and encourage all residents to celebrate and acknowledge every day, but especially in March, that music education is an essential part of every student's well-rounded education. Again, we have Ryan Lindley here who's going to accept that, and I'll come on down and... Thanks for coming tonight. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
You can have that when you're done if you want. Oh, great. There you go.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of the music department at our wonderful Oshkosh Area School District. My name is Ryan Lindley. I teach at Perry Tipler Middle School, and I am the Oshkosh Youth Choir Director, and I'm also the president and member of the Oshkosh Chamber Singers, which I have to go to right after this. So, the music department... Yeah, exactly. The music department is the heartbeat of our school district. You go to a sporting event, a parade, or a pep rally, and the band is there. In and around December, you can't be invited to a party or event without one of the magical groups from the north or west side being present at over 30 events. Alberta Kimball is full of music from the elementary school music educators throughout the year. Finally, the middle school music departments steadily keep their students engaged and interested in music education through band, choir, orchestra, the show choir and polka band at Traeger Middle School, and many cultural experiences at Bell Phillips Middle School. The music department doesn't just teach young musicians how to be better musicians, we also teach them how to be better humans. We deal in empathy, storytelling, and community engagement. Students learn to work as individuals as well as in teams of homogeneous and heterogeneous groups of people. The Oshkosh North Choirs had a concert recently where they sang songs all about food, fundraised for the local food shelter, and then brought awareness to local groups who are experiencing food insecurity. Currently, my choirs at Tippler Middle School are collaborating with the Day by Day Shelter of Oshkosh in a concert series called From Darkness to Light, A Journey of Hope. We are currently sitting at $1,400 in donations and will be conducting a much-needed items fundraiser shortly. The culmination of the project will be a concert on May 22nd at the Alberta Kimball Auditorium. Thank you for your time and adoption of Music in Our Schools Month as National Association for Music Education celebrates its 40th anniversary of this event. It's impossible to highlight every program in just 3 minutes, but our Oshkosh Area School District just posted Facebook posts about all of our music educators with some interviews and pictures, and so I encourage you to go look at those. And I just appreciate you guys allowing me to speak on this, so thank you.
And we have one more. We have a proclamation for National Library Week, which is in the early part of April. And I think tonight we have Library Director Daryl Achete here as well to help receive that. Whereas the Oshkosh Public Library is celebrating 125 years serving the residents of this city, proudly sparking inspiration and the pursuit of knowledge in downtown Oshkosh since 1900. And whereas libraries are places for individuals and communities to take the first step towards knowledge, discovery, and personal growth, providing resources and opportunities that empower people to learn, create, and connect. And whereas the Oshkosh Public Library serves as a welcoming and inclusive space, ensuring that every resident, regardless of background or circumstance, can explore new ideas, engage with others, and feel a sense of belonging. And whereas the library preserves and promotes our rich local history, providing access to archives and stories that celebrate Oshkosh's past while shaping its future. And whereas, through its rich collection of resources, encompassing books, digital tools, streaming media, technology, collaboration spaces, and expert human guidance, the library supports literacy, lifelong learning, and the pursuit of knowledge for all ages. And whereas, the Oshkosh Public Library champions community engagement and participation, offering programs and partnerships and services that bring people together, that sparks conversation and deepens civic involvement. And whereas, the Oshkosh Public Library is more than a historic building filled with books. It is a place to take the first step, whether in learning a new skill, starting a business, or discovering a new passion. Now, therefore, I, Matt Mugrauer, Mayor of the City of Oshkosh, do hereby proclaim April 6th through the 12th, 2025, as National Library Week in the City of Oshkosh, and I encourage all residents to visit the Oshkosh Public Library, explore its many opportunities, and celebrate the vital role it plays in strengthening our community. Daryl, come on up.
Just say a few words here. Libraries are more than buildings filled with books. They are engines of opportunity. They welcome everyone regardless of background or means and provide access to knowledge, creativity, and connection. In a world that is often dreadfully divided, libraries remain one of the last truly public spaces where people come together to learn, explore, and grow. Public libraries stand for something powerful and enduring, the belief that every person deserves the chance to imagine more, to discover their voice, and to find a place where they belong. When responsible office holders like yourselves support our libraries, you're investing in lifelong learning, in civic strength, and in the kind of community where everyone has the tools to thrive. Oshkosh deserves a great library, and we who work there and the library board who monitor our doings, thank you for helping us to maintain one.
All right, moving right along. We have a public hearing this evening. First, is this the first reading or second reading? First reading. First reading, right?
I think it's the first.
Thank you. Ordinance 25-104, approve comprehensive land use plan amendment from general commercial to light density residential for property located at the east end of Christian Drive. Plan Commission recommends approval. This is the first reading for this public hearing. Second reading, ordinance 25-104, approve comprehensive land use plan amendment from general commercial to light density residential for property located at the east end of Christian Drive. Plan Commission recommends approval. If you're here to speak on this, now would be a good time. Third and final reading, ordinance 25-104, approve comprehensive land use plan amendment from general commercial to light density residential for property located at the east end of Christian Drive. Plan Commission recommends approval. I see no one looking to speak on this. We'll consider the public hearing closed, and this will come back at the next meeting for discussion and action. We move on to public statements to council. I have two individuals that are registered. I have Glenn Kieran that's registered, and I don't see Glenn here. And then Tricia, you're for Go EDC 42. Thank you, sorry. I have no one registered for any other public statements to council. So we'll move right on to consent agenda. I'll take a motion and a second on consent.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on anything consent related? I see none. City Clerk, if you'll please take the roll on consent agenda.
Larson,
Aye.
Esslinger,
Aye.
Flom,
Aye.
Bulow,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Nichols,
Aye.
Mughawar,
Aye.
carried 7.
Pending ordinances, we have just a couple. Ordinance 25-134, approve comprehensive land use plan amendment from light density residential to neighborhood commercial for property located at 1705 Oshkosh Avenue. Plan Commission recommends approval. I'll take a motion and a second, please.
So moved. Second.
Council discussion. Please take the roll.
Larson,
Aye.
Esslinger,
Aye.
Flom,
Aye.
Bulow,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Nichols,
Aye.
Mughawar,
Aye.
carried 7.
25-135, approve deletion of officially mapped Progress Drive from its existing southern terminus southeasterly to Vinland Street. Plan Commission recommends approval.
So moved. Second.
Council discussion. Please take the roll on 25-135.
Larson,
Aye.
Esslinger,
Aye.
Flom,
Aye.
Bulow,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Nichols,
Aye.
Mughawar,
Aye.
carried 7.
Ordinance 25-136, amend section 17-29 of the municipal code, speed limits for boats, to prohibit water skiing, wakeboarding, aquaplaning, or similar activities in the Fox River in Oshkosh, and the Advisory Parks Board recommends approval. I'll take a motion in a second, please.
So moved. Second.
Council discussion. Mr. Flom.
I would like to yield my time to the Parks Director to explain the Parks Board rationale on this.
Welcome, Mr. Mauer. Good evening.
Good evening. This was a request that originally was brought to the Advisory Parks Board by the Riverwatch Condo Association on Campbell Road, adjacent to the Senior Center, regarding some shoreline erosion that they've been experiencing. Their request was to have the slow-no wake zone throughout the entire river in Oshkosh. So the Advisory Parks Board had that discussion. There were members from the boating community, boating clubs, some of the marina owners along the river system, and representatives from the Homeowners Association. And ultimately, at that meeting, it was the direction by the Advisory Parks Board and in discussions with those individuals present, that it may be more of a matter of some of the aquaplaning and some of those water sports that are doing more creating of the waves that cause the damage on the shorelines. So ultimately, the Advisory Parks Board did not support a slow-no wake throughout the entire river, and discussion took place on prohibiting those water sports in the river. So subsequently, we have worked with City Attorney's Office and the DNR to get approval for the city to adopt this ordinance or amend this ordinance, and we've been in discussions with the Winnebago Sheriff's Department because they do the enforcement in the river system. So that's where we're at.
Councilmember Nichols.
Thanks. I think this is a good idea. Actually, where I sit in my office, I stare at the river and I see people being pulled in tubes and skis, and it's incredibly dangerous. I know we're talking about wake, and that was kind of where this came out, but just from a safety perspective, this will make the river safer. I guess one question I have, though, is how do we plan to communicate this to the boating community in Oshkosh? Just because for years this has been allowed.
Yep, what we do, anytime we have any ordinance change or anything that affects our boat launches, we will, we've got informational kiosks at each of the boat launches. We'll be posting that information, highlighting the amended ordinance. I will be also working with the local boat clubs, getting them information as well. We do have an email contact with them, so we'll be providing that. And we'll work with the marinas throughout the area as well and get them that information as well. Social media posts as well will explain that.
That's super helpful. Do you have any insight from the Winnebago County Sheriff's Department if they intend to educate and then provide citations at first while this is changing, or have you heard from them at all?
We haven't discussed that, but I'm guessing it most likely would be that. I would expect so.
Great, thanks.
Councilmember Larson.
Ray, easy one, I think. I think I understand it in the ordinance, but just so everybody can hear it said, this is the whole river will be none of these things?
That's correct. Basically,
Perfect.
from the mouth of the river behind the Leach Amphitheater by the railroad bridge, all the way up to the north end of Rainbow Park.
Perfect. DJ mentioned tubing. That's not mentioned in here explicitly. Is it nothing you tow behind? How will this really be clarified when we get there?
Similar activities would include that.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
I see nothing else. All right. City Clerk, if you'll take the roll on 25-136.
Larson.
Aye.
Esslinger.
Aye.
Flom.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Nichols.
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 7.
We have a couple new ordinances, no actions anticipated on these next four. Ordinance 25-137 approves zone change from heavy industrial district to heavy industrial district with a planned development overlay at 2750 Vinland Street, and Plan Commission recommends approval. We have ordinance 25-138 approves zone change from suburban mixed-use district to a suburban mixed-use district with a planned development overlay at 1120 South Kohler Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. Ordinance 25-139, amend various provisions of Chapter 27 and 27A of the City of Oshkosh Municipal Code pertaining to parking regulations and enforcement to allow for utilization of an application-based parking management system, update and remove outdated references and terminology, and allocate parking enforcement authority between the City of Oshkosh and the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. And Ordinance 25-140, amend Chapter 21 of the City of Oshkosh Municipal Code pertaining to the public construction and services, method of payment, special charges, special assessments to reorganize the chapter, and revise article pertaining to payment of connection charges. Again, those are all first readings. Those will come back at the next meeting for further discussion and action. We have two new resolutions. And resolutions 25-141, approve Ames Point in Menominee Park as the site for the July 4th Festival Foods Fireworks Show, and the Advisory Parks Board recommends approval. Take a motion and a second, please.
So moved. Second.
Discussion.
So as Director Maurer is coming up here, the reason why this came to the Parks Board in the first place to provide rationale, as the agenda item states, is that the vendor that we've been using for the past 20 or so odd years is no longer able to do so, stemming from staffing concerns and whatnot. So with that, the Parks Board came to the conclusion that this would be probably a better place to have the fireworks with the requisite safety precautions, and I'll let Director Maurer take it away.
Thank you. Yes, as we started to look for another fireworks vendor available on July 4th, obviously, many communities like to have their shows on July 4th, and availability was shown by one firm. That firm actually works with Festival Foods on a number of their shows throughout the state. So we had discussions with that individual, the representative, as well as our public safety staff concerning the island, the Monkey Island location versus Ames Point. And as I stated in the memo, there were a number of concerns, setup, takedown, and having the show on the island itself for a number of years. We've had some discussions with public safety in the past. If you've been down there, you've seen boats tying up sometimes 4 or 5 deep, which then gets them closer to the island and potentially into some safety concerns. We feel that Ames Point, the fireworks individual that we'll be working with, they're able to get their product out on the point using hand jacks and so forth. It's easier for them to set up. They don't have to come 2 or 3 days in advance to set up. And actually, as I said in my memo, they don't have the staffing to do so. So if, basically, if we can't move it to the point, we may not have a July 4th show. So as we took a look at Ames Point, again, talking with the Sheriff's Department, our police and fire, we all supported the idea. The safety zone won't impact the shoreline. It'll be more out in the water. And what we're doing with the Sheriff's Department is putting large orange buoys out to mark the safety zone, and then the sheriff's boat and possibly our fire department may be out there with their boat just to keep the boaters from inside the safety zone as well. And as was brought up, when we take a look at the north end of Menominee Park, I do believe there's a lot more green space up there and there's less trees. So, if you sat near the train station and so forth, you'd have to back up or you'd see them through the trees. So I think visually it's going to be a lot nicer up in that area as well.
Okay. Deputy Mayor, then followed by Councilor Esslinger.
Thank you, Ray. It is my intention that anytime we're talking about fireworks, I'm going to mention that it is illegal to light off fireworks of your own in the city of Oshkosh and enjoy our wonderful public display that we are going to put on.
Councilor Esslinger.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Maurer, just out of curiosity, what does it cost for the fireworks? Not the, the employees or whatever, just to buy the goods? What is the budget?
I don't have that information because basically we signed a contract with the fireworks vendor, and that included their staffing as well as obviously the product. When we put out the RFP, the request for proposal for firms to come in, if we would have received proposals, we did request to have that breakdown on what the product cost would have been. But in discussions with Festival Foods, because they utilize this vendor for a number of their shows, and they'll be buying a larger bulk using our show, I believe that our show will be enhanced by utilizing this vendor and having the shows being paid from a number of communities, basically. So I can't answer exactly the cost per shell, but the fireworks show here in Oshkosh the past couple of years has been a $40,000 show. The city paying 50%, Festival Foods paying the other 50%.
Thank you very much.
I see no other buttons. If you'll take the roll on 25-141.
Larson.
Aye.
Esslinger.
All right.
Flom.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Nichols.
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Resolution 25-142, approve 5-year investment commitment to the Greater Oshkosh Economic Development Corporation. Tricia Rathermel is here this evening from Go EDC. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just really wanted to say thank you so much for taking this into consideration tonight. We are very excited about this initiative that we're working forward, and very much appreciate the relationship we have with the city and the staff here. So I think the memo that was presented does a nice job of explaining, but I'm also here for any questions that you have regarding what's presented.
Okay. I'll take a motion in a second to put on the floor.
So moved.
Second.
Don't everybody jump at once on that one.
You get to pick, Diane.
Right?
Got it.
Got it. Discussion. Councilmember Flowen, followed by Councilmember Stevenson.
Well, Tricia, I want to thank you very much for you and your team and all the great work that you guys do, whether it's individual site selection, getting businesses to relocate here, just looking at the broader picture of economic development. You guys have done a fantastic job. And when we talk about, for the people at home, we talk about the difference between Go EDC and the Chamber. The Chamber is focused on policy, and Go EDC is very much focused on long-term investment and figuring out where we're going to go as a community in terms of economic development and workforce development. So the City of Oshkosh is one of our one of Go EDC's platinum level sponsors. This is a public-private partnership together with Winnebago County, JEK, Lampham Pickey Steel, C.R. Meyer, Amcor, Castle Pierce. The list goes on and on. Other corporations like Theta Care, Aurora Healthcare, Oshkosh, Truck, the town of Algoma, Winneconne. There are other both public and private institutions which invest in Go EDC's mission. So I'm very much in favor of this. We can't move forward as a community without Go EDC, and I appreciate everything you guys do.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Ditto. No. I also just would like to thank Go EDC for all the hard work they do in our community. Economic development is important. I think this relationship between the city and Go EDC is pivotal to making sure that Oshkosh continues to move forward, and not just with our growth, but also with retaining the quality businesses that we have here today. So I just wanted to make sure I pass along my thanks to you guys and all the hard work you do. So thank you.
I see no others. With that, If you'll take the roll on 25-142.
Larson.
Aye.
Eslinger.
Aye.
Flom.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Nichols.
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 7.
That wraps up our, the action items for this evening. Moving on to council discussion, direction to city manager and future agenda items. Council discussion, we have a item from Councilmember Flom. This is to explore the creation of a regularly scheduled real estate reevaluation policy. Councilmember Flom.
All right, so I don't think I need to do a lot of background work in why I'm bringing this item up tonight. I know a number of us at different times have expressed the desire to explore this, so I did some research, and that was attached in the agenda item packet. And so I talked to a bunch of assessors throughout the state, similar cities that were similar to our size and median income level. So looking here, just going through the list, you can see there's a kind of a mixed bag. Kenosha revalues every 2 years, Racine something every year. Appleton and Green Bay have a fixed schedule for revals every 5 years. Most recently, Green Bay City Council approved moving to a 5-year schedule from a 10-year schedule. And then we have some varied ones. City of La Crosse, they're market-driven. They try to get ahead of reactions to market conditions before they get a letter from DOR. And then additionally, Wausau has a every 5 years, but they also will sometimes revalue differently on market conditions. Same thing, Janesville, they tried to do every 3 to 4 years. Waukesha every other year. And then there are 2 here that I did not include in the packet, which I was able to follow up with yesterday, and that's Neenah and Fond du Lac. Neenah is in the same boat as La Crosse. They are a very much market-driven reval system. They revaled last in 1923, potentially will have to go in 26. They try to get there before DOR sends them a notice of noncompliance. And then for the city of Fond du Lac, they just revalue whenever DOR tells them to. So I will let council go ahead and discuss this. For me, what I'm seeking tonight is consensus from council to have city staff look into developing such a policy. For my part, what I would like to see is anywhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 5 years for a reval, but also giving city staff the flexibility if they feel the need to do so when it's not in that interval period. Say it's on the 4th year or the 2nd year if need be. So I want to give staff some flexibility, but I also want to provide some guidance. In the past, council hasn't necessarily done that, and that's part of the reason why we got into this mess this past time around. I know most of this is the state's issue with the way that the DOR statutes are structured. However, we should be doing the best that we can with what we can control, and I feel like this is one of the few things in this policy issue which we can control. So I'll let council take a crack at it.
Sounds good. Looks like we have a couple council members. I just want to say thank you for Councilmember Flom. One, putting on the agenda, but bringing a background material for us to at least have at our fingertips while we have even a brief discussion on it. So appreciate that. Councilmember Stevenson, followed by Councilmember Nichols.
Yeah, I too thank you for bringing this forward. I think this is something we've all kind of talked about. Definitely, if you're, I don't know if we nodding heads, yes, I would like to move forward and just see what our options are. I agree with 3 to 5 kind of exploratory area, just to see, I guess, what cost impacts would be. But I do think if we develop some sort of policy like this, it will help smooth out our budget. We won't get the spikes that we kind of witnessed over this last 7 years. And again, thank you for bringing this forward, and I'm a yes. So.
Councilmember Nichols and Councilmember Larson.
Thanks. I'm also a yes. I actually went back and looked, and I first mentioned this on May 14th, 2024, so I'm really glad Councilmember Flom is bringing this back up. I think 3 to 5 years is the sweet spot. I think 3 years makes more sense personally. That's just because I have experience in 3 years. When I lived in Chicago, we would look at it every 3 years. Every homeowners association, every homeowner knew that every 3 years you were going to have a new revaluation. They also knew what the process was to dispute the numbers that you were given, and they also understood what the impact would be to your taxes. You built that reflex, I think, because of the frequency that it happened, and you also knew who to ask questions to because you had that reflex. In my experience, what you would do as an HOA is you would hire an attorney if you wanted to, and that attorney would dispute things for you, and it was built into the costs of your homeowners association. It was just something that was very normal, and it was very unlike what we had here. And again, I agree with Councilmember Flom that a lot of this is driven by the state. This isn't a city issue, but because it would happen so infrequently in Wisconsin, I think an average of 7 years is what we heard when we talked about this about a year ago. Because it's so infrequent, you have new people to the area, you have new homeowners, and people don't understand what the process is or why it's happening. I think increasing frequency is a good thing. We would like to understand cost. I think that I would hesitate to provide the flexibility to staff to say, we're going to do it every 3 years, but if it needs to happen every 2 or every 4, we have a problem with that. I think I'd like it to be every 3 years or every 4 years, and then we have that reflex and that backbone, but I'm definitely a yes here to exploring it further.
Councilmember Larson.
100% agree, Jacob, thank you for bringing it forward. DJ, I'll echo the same sentiments too. I think having a set program for it is beneficial. Just leveling off what people can expect when they get their tax bill will be beneficial to everyone all the time. Knowing what the process is in a familiar manner is a big thing. I would venture lots of people this year, which was the weirdest year we've ever seen, this is the first time they saw something like this because they didn't go through it 7 years ago. Sure. That's problematic. So the more we can do it, the better. Kelly, you're nearby, so I kind of throw a question your way. I know this year the timing is a little different for the reval this year, right? And that the numbers will get to people later than they did in 2024 and 2025, correct?
That is correct. Last year in 2024.
Go ahead.
It was, notices of changed assessments were sent out in probably more like early summer, late spring, where this year is probably more like early fall.
Great. And do you think we'll continue to do it in that manner? There's good reason to do it in that manner,
There's
obviously.
good reason to do that because then we can align with the state. We know what their equalized values are. They release preliminary numbers the first week of August. So then we have a pretty good idea of, where they're tracking. So we probably will look at adjusting that just so we are in line and we can make sure that, we don't run into those issues in the future.
Great. And my point was mainly that this is a good idea, and I think aligning it with that at the same time, since we're going to talk about it, we might as well talk about it, just to let people know what's happening and when, and then make it consistent from their going out would be great.
I won't use the word echo, but I do happen to agree with what's been said so far. Making it consistent, predictable is important. Those are good things. My one suggestion actually would be possibly, since we're not in a time crunch that this has to be on the agenda or approved, very quickly, to defer this to long-range finance. They meet in April. I don't know if they could actually take it up in April, but then they meet in June next. And allow them to review the issue and make a recommendation to us. But what you're hearing is they would be given the information of what we're saying right now. Look at it, make a recommendation. It also allows a little bit broader citizen input in the process, especially since we're not under a tight gun. That'd be my one suggestion. If you guys would like, allow staff to actually work with long-range finance a little bit, have a broader discussion, and then they'll bring a policy to us to review and approve anyways.
Yeah.
So I won't do a nodding heads on that one. I know I'm not allowed to do that. Councilmember Nichols, followed by Deputy Mayor.
No, I like the idea of taking it to long-range finance. I think my only request there would be that staff has their recommendation to long-range finance before that meeting, rather than it being discussed like it is now, if that makes sense. And so the council meeting following that long-range finance meeting, we will have the recommendation and something to vote on.
Sure.
That'd be so that we can get something done in the summer, rather than have this be something that drags out.
Sure. Understood. Deputy Mayor, followed by Councilmember Flom again.
100% agree, and I kind of thought that's where you were going to go with it, so I wanted you to go first. I think at long-range finance, it makes sense to take a look at this. My number that I had in the back of my head was 4, and so I've heard a lot of 3 to 5s, and that makes a lot of sense, but I'd really like to get Director Colmus's opinion on it, as well as, from Kelly and the rest of the staff to make sure that we make the wisest decision going forward overall.
Councilmember Flom, followed by Councilmember Larson.
It makes sense for it to go to long-range finance. Staff can work on crafting a policy, and then have long-range finance review it, get their input on it, any tweaks they may have, and then it'll go back to us from there. So works for me.
Okay. Councilmember Larson.
Agreed on LRF also. I'd like to see it as there'll be discussions about what's going to happen with the budget for next year, July, August, so on and so forth. So I'd like to have this answered by the time we're having those discussions, so that we can explain to people what will happen going forward.
I think the direction on that's pretty clear. City Manager, good with that?
Yes.
Okay.
I was going to say, do we need to make a...
Yes.
I think
you do. You need to do the thing, yeah?
We should.
Do the thing. Well,
Jacob, you got it.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Dude.
All right, so I'm going to seek an informal poll of council on sending this to staff to craft a policy and then send to long-range finance for review and approval.
Councilmember Resslinger, you good
Absolutely.
with that? All right, Councilmember Flom.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor.
Sure.
Mr. Stevenson.
Yeah.
Mr. Nichols.
Yes.
Mr. Larson.
Yes.
I'm also a yes, so all of us would like that to be done, please. Thank you. Future agenda items, meetings and workshops. We have, just so you can put on your calendars, organizational meeting will be at noon on April 15th. Speaking, then councilmember announcements and statements. I didn't ask the city clerk to say anything, but would you like to remind people, there's a few days left of early voting?
Oh, thank you.
Would you like to
Sure.
remind them at home if they're listening, or maybe written about soon here?
Yep, we do have early in-person absentee voting happening over at 19 East Irving. They will be there the rest of the week, tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday until 8 to 4:30, and then Friday they'll be there till 5.
Appreciate that.
I'll probably have some numbers for you soon, so you guys know how many people we've seen.
All right. Any other council member announcements or statements? If not, City Manager Grill, the rest is yours.
There are 3 purchases on the agenda. Any questions about any of those? Okay. And then we can go to the outstanding issues. You can see that we've added dates to them at the request of the council from last time. Are there any questions?
Doesn't appear to be any. All right. Anything else?
That's
Thank
all
you
I
for
have.
adding the dates.
Sure.
With that, I will take a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.